the one that kind of right behind it.
Call the meeting to order. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, can you read our mission statement?
Yes, the mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Mary to approve the agenda. Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. And the agenda is approved, I think.
No, I have to log out and log back in. Maybe not. Let's see.
I thought it went through.
Here it goes. Did it go? She showed red on my screen. She showed.
Click sync.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not synced. Okay. I think it's the seat. I don't know. It's my computer every time. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Join meeting.
Yep.
Okay, now we're back.
There. Next item is a public forum. Anybody from the public want to approach the board? Seeing nobody, I will move on to our presentation, our facilities update.
So
Welcome, Tricia.
Yeah, Trisha and Pia, I think, are going to present today. Or Pia's going to point and smile and wave. Trisha's had a busy weekend, so
Yes, we
she'll
have
fill in
had
on
a
her
busy
presentation.
weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that this evening. So thank you for having me. We'll go through a facilities update. But first of all, I just want to introduce you to some new members of our team. So Pia Mua is here with us tonight. He's our new supervisor of buildings and grounds. Pia replaced Warren, who was here for over 20 years. And sometimes I forget that Pia's only been here for 6 months because he's just done such a great job of just fitting into the role here at Marshall Public Schools. He gets things done. He approaches everything with confidence. And so I just have really, really enjoyed getting to know Pia and having him join my team. And then also we have Travis Parody. He's a groundkeeper for Marshall Public Schools. And so Travis joined us late last fall, and Travis's responsibility is all of our acreage of Marshall Public Schools. And then he also maintains our irrigation system, and then is in charge of maintaining all of our district vehicles, equipment, lawnmowers, snow blowers, tractors, all of the equipment that's involved with that. Paul Landberg, he is new to us, has been here a couple months. He comes to us from Worthington, Minnesota as a custodian there. His children live in Marshall, so we are lucky to have Paul with us. Matthew Kapitsky is a custodian at Parkside Elementary, is doing phenomenal. And then just in the last week, we have hired Marvin Van Acker, and Marvin comes to us with 18 years of experience from another school district. And so I'm happy to report at this time, buildings and grounds staff is all, we are full. We have everybody we need. And before I move on, I just again want to say I have such a great team underneath me. And as we go through the events that unfolded this weekend, it was just proof that we have a staff that when called upon, they respond. And I just really appreciate that of them. So I think it rained this weekend. That's what I heard anyway. So besides the Marshall Middle School, each of our buildings in the district came out pretty well after the rain on Friday night. So just very few leaks in some of the buildings, nothing that wasn't able to be cleaned up pretty quickly. The Marshall Middle School, on the other hand, suffered pretty significant flooding, either through water intrusion down our main hallway into the technology office, student services, district office, and then the boardroom that we're in right now. So in this room that we were in, we had standing water in here. And we were able to, we believe that that was clean water that came into this room. So we were able to get that sucked up pretty quickly on Saturday morning. F-wing is our wing coming off of door 14 there. That wing suffered, I would say, most of the water damage. And so we believe that the water came into the building three different ways potentially. And so we have a roof drain on the top of the building in the corner over there. And we know that there is a crack now. We know that there's a crack in that drain. And so with the volume of water that was trying to go through that drain and with the pressure of it, we had pretty much the pipe blow out and gravel and water were part of the problem with the flooding. The second issue was because that roof drain was plugged, water went over the edge of the roof and into a window well, which then leaked into our cafeteria area. And then the third reason for the flooding, we believe, is that we did have a little bit of sewer backup in one of our bathrooms off of the cafeteria. And so what had happened is Saturday morning, I came in bright and early to check all of our facilities. And of course, this was the first one I walked into the flood in the F-wing hallway. And right away, connected with Pia, and he connected with his team. And I would say probably by 7:20 that day, we had a team of individuals here. I met with the maintenance team and the lead custodian of this building. We got a plan in place, and you'll see the crew that had responded, and everybody got to work right away. They worked until almost 3 o'clock that day, removing water from the building classrooms by sucking it up. We had a crew that was moving furniture and equipment. That was their job. And then we had a person whose job was basically to continue to mop the floors so we weren't tracking that sludge through all the different areas of the building, trying to just keep it all down to that end of the building to keep it as sanitary as possible, not knowing exactly what we were dealing with in which rooms. So these are some pictures that came out of Saturday. So we know that at about 8:42 is when the bathroom started backing up. And we know that because we've watched the security footage to see exactly what has happened. And then I know that shortly thereafter, it started coming in the window. And then it pretty much ran down the hallways, as I explained, and by 10:30 is when we've seen the water slow down from coming in through those 3 different points of entry that I talked about. So that's a long time for water to come into a building. But this first picture there is right off of the bathroom that I talked about. And so water ran a little bit into the cafeteria area there. We will be replacing the tiles in about a third of the cafeteria. We'll be pulling those up. This is a classroom down in F-wing. That classroom just received some water in there, but we've removed all the furniture and equipment out of there, and we'll be sanitizing. I should say today we came in and we just took some time to assess the problem, and we ripped up all of the tile, all of the carpet in F-wing with the exception of 2 classrooms, and now we will begin the process. We've had 3 contractors in, one for flooring, one for plumbing, and what am I missing? Flooring, plumbing, and flooring, plumbing,
Construction. Contractor.
Yes, the construction for the sheetrock. Thank you. So we've had 3 contractors in, all local contractors that got to work for us right away. They came in, they said, here's what our plan is going to be. Here's what we need you to do. So our team had the floor ripped out. We've cut out sheetrock. up 2 feet in the classrooms that had sheetrock that got wet, and we're ready to start restoring. But first and foremost, we need to sanitize all of those areas and make sure that we are capturing any of the germs that came through, but then stopping any mold growth as well if there's any. So this third picture here is a staff bathroom that's down in F wing. What you're seeing there is not the color of the tile. That's that layer of sludge that I talked about that was across the floor. This is not meant to look like a cobblestone hallway. That is the water. You can see it went all the way down from the top of the hallway all the way out to door 14 there. This picture down here in the bottom corner is the gravel that was in that cabinet. And so that's where I talked about where that roof drain had just too much pressure, and so it pushed out. Today we ended up taking that cabinet out, cutting into that wall where we found the block wall behind was significantly wet with a lot of gravel behind it. So we are working with a plumber to get that fixed. This was the bathroom that I talked about that backed up. And then this is the district office with the standing water in there. So those are just some of the pictures that we took from over the weekend. But again, this is the team that came to the rescue that I can't thank enough for their work on Saturday. So Ron Schultz, Terry Fisher, Dean Lemke, Randy Anderson, Ron Inga, Rodney Baumgards, Robbie Gifford, Tom Blumey, Paul Landberg, Gavin Williams, Andrew Stelter, Troy Clem, and Bennett Apple. All came in and took initiative and got the job done. So big kudos to that team of individuals. Sarah and I have been in contact with our insurance company, learning what will be covered and what won't be covered. So we're working through that process. We're beginning to inventory anything that we've needed to dispose of. You've probably seen the dumpster in the back when you came for today's meeting. So everything is underway. We're feeling good about the process. Our goal is to have that wing completely restored and ready for class by the first day of school in September, if not by the time teachers return the last week in August. If we can't get it all completely restored, we will get as much done as we can, and then we will relocate any classrooms to another part of the building until we can get those rooms finished. So Peggy and Bennett are working on that backup plan, but overall, we are thankful that this happened in July and not in the last week of August, because that would be a whole different story. So, yeah, we'll get it done. We're working hard. So, any questions on what happened or that piece of it?
I'd just like to thank all these guys and Pia and your team for getting this done, because I'm sure some of these guys had things going on at home as well. And to come down here and get this done, it's very much appreciated.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, a couple of them had their own challenges at their homes. And again, like I just said, tremendous crew to work with. So very thankful. So on to what we're really here to talk about today, where it was a facilities update. So many of you know what LTFM is, but for those of you that are new to the board, that's long-term facility maintenance revenue. And really what LTFM is prior to 2017, the Department of Education had 3 different pots of money that they would give to school districts to maintain their buildings. There was deferred maintenance, health and safety, and alternative facilities. And then basically what they decided in 2017 was, hey, let's just take all that money and roll it into one pot, and then schools can decide how they want to break that money out. And so this money is to be used specifically for the upkeep of your facilities, the maintenance of your facilities. And so I don't want people to get this confused with our operating budgets. It is different. So we are not buying things like toilet paper, cleaning supplies, those types of things out of LTFM. It is specifically designated for building-related projects. And so there is a formula that the state applies to calculate your LTFM. And so it's $380 times your adjusted pupil unit. And then they take the lesser of 1, or basically the building age. And then they factor in approved health and safety capital projects and any VPK remodeling costs that you might have. So they apply that formula, and then they report back to us how much money district will get in a year, and later on in the board meeting, you'll be asked to approve our budget for next year for LTFM. So again, building and grounds updates. So this year, you're not going to see any projects that probably have a big wow factor with them. We concentrated on more practical and safety related projects. We attempted to hit each building or make updates at each building. And then one of the things that P and I are doing is we're taking a look at our preventative maintenance schedule and what's been done with that in the past. We're going to make some tweaks and adjustments to that. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to incorporate inspection of our lifts and hoists. And so what that will look like is we'll be on a cycle. So we will have somebody come in and they will inspect anything that lifts or is on a hoist. And so that will be our basketball hoops, that will be our curtains in our gyms, our rigging systems in our theaters, and they're just going to make sure that that is all working properly. And so we never have an accident in those areas. So this year we'll start with the high school. Next year we'll move to middle school. And then on the third year we'll do Southview and Parkside. And then we'll start the cycle all over again. One of the things I want to point out here, though, is that if you have an automotive lift, that is required to be inspected every year. So any automotive lifts that we have in the district, those inspections will continue to happen annually. So today's information I'm going to share with you is just a highlight of some of the projects that we're working on this summer. We've got quite a few other things that are happening in the district that are routine maintenance, painting, those types of things. So I'm going to try to go quickly through these projects, but stop me if you have any questions. So we'll start with Parkside. So a lot of concrete work needed to be done at Parkside for safety reasons. And so you'll see these two areas are in the back of the building. And then we had an area out front by our early childhood wing where we demoed concrete or installed concrete. In the second column here, you'll see safety lights were installed. And so in some of the wings in Parkside, you would walk in if it was after hours and it would be completely black. And so if you're a staff member coming to work on a evening or on the weekend, it's hard to get to your classroom. And so we installed safety lights. So each hallway is lit throughout the evening hours. The third column here is a classroom. So that would be a timeout classroom. So if a student is in need of some time to them, to just cool down, we could use this classroom, and it was pretty much taken down to the bare bones previously. And so we went ahead and we added some padding to that classroom. We put in a light sensor, so the light comes on automatically when we enter the classroom, and then the thermostat was moved higher up on the wall, and so the student doesn't have access to that. And then the other projects at Parkside, we are sealing the windows, and so you can see it's time at Parkside to reseal those windows. And if we did not have any water intrusion with this last rainstorm, but if we would have had wind, that probably would have been a different story. So anytime we have rain and wind together, we do see that those windows leak. And then we will be replacing one of our custodial doors there at Parkside. You can see that's in desperate need of being replaced. And then the last thing at Parkside is in the gymnasium. If you've been in there in the last 20 years, you've wondered why this drinking fountain is in there and who uses it. And so basically we're going to remove that. It's a safety hazard to students at this point. There's a bottle filler and a water fountain right outside of the door there. So P is working with the crew, and we'll cap those lines and we'll re-brick that, and that will look nice when it's all done. Southview, we really want to see some grass growing around that building. So P and his team have been working to get some grass growing around Southview this year. We'll continue to work through that process into the fall and into spring if we don't see any progress on that. But we have a plan in place, and P has been working hard with Travis to get some grass. There's green there, but I don't know that it's grass, so we're going to keep working at that. The other thing we added, this is in the back of Southview. So if that is the service road. So if you were entering the loading dock, so coming in through the back of the middle school through that service road, we were finding that semis and big trucks were cutting that corner too short, and that left that, where the new concrete is, that left that a muddy mess and rutted up. And so we just added a little bit more concrete to that area, and we're hoping that that will give the semis enough room that they need to pull in there. The top picture on the last column there is a shed in the back of the building that had landscaping rock around it. That landscaping rock was really hard on our snow blowers, and so we decided that we would just remove that. We don't want rock shooting at the building when we're snow blowing. The second picture on that column there is just a picture of a sidewalk, but what we're doing is we're gonna add a safety line to that sidewalk. So kind of what you would see at Parkside, where students know when they come out of the building for pickup, that they have to stop at that line and they can't go beyond that line until their person is there ready to pick them up. So that's for safety purposes. We don't want students too close to the curb there. And this last one here is just really an unintended consequence probably of the building construction. We have a little hiding spot there that students might like to play hide and seek once in a while. So they crawl in under there. So Pia has a nice solution to that. We're just going to put some pad there and make sure that that gets closed up so we don't see that anymore.
Is that at every stairwell or just one place?
The main one.
Just the one.
the main one.
Yeah. So middle school, we've done quite a bit of work to this building already. So you can see in the first column there, we have some new key fob readers. So that is at our maintenance store and our technology office, probably two of our most important areas to know who's going in and out of. And the thing about the key fob readers that I'll just share is the equipment itself, all of it came from Maytech. So there was no expense with the equipment itself. The only expense that we had was the installation on the electrical side. So very grateful that we were able to reuse that equipment. This project first, or on the bottom here, is maybe going to be suspended depending upon what happens down here in the F wing. But our goal with this project is we'd like to remove that white wall there and replace it with the fencing, the black fencing that you see around the golf simulator. That will really open up that weight room area and allow for teachers to see in and out pretty easily, but it will also improve the appearance of that area as well. In the second column there, you're going to see that we had skylights that had been capped at some point in our student bathrooms, but we have decided to put ceiling tile there and help prevent students from throwing things up there. And
Those
so
are wads of paper towels stuck to the top of that picture.
and so, it really does look nice. It does look like it's always been there. And so I'm really happy with how that turned out. In the third column there, you'll see this is our girls' locker room. And for some of you that went to Marshall High School, you remember that those hand dryers in the locker room are about 5 or 6 foot off the floor. And the intention of that when they built the school was because then when girls would need to dry their hair after they showered after PE class, they could use the hand dryers to dry their hair. Well, that's not the case anymore. That's not how we use that space. And so we installed 2 new hand dryers. We're going to leave 2 old ones up there in case somebody needs to dry their hair at some point, but we'll cap off those openings and we will put a mirror up there, which will be better served in that space. And then the last 3 pictures on this slide are just of the painting that's been going on at the Marshall Middle School. So the column on the bottom there, you can see that's what the original column looked like. It was just time. It was dirty. It was dingy. So we hired a local contractor to come in, and then you can see the result of the column there and the column in the last column. But then we also painted the header around the academic area, so it looks similar to what we did around the cafeteria here a couple years ago. Marshall High School, not too many projects here because we're going to talk about our building automated systems project here in a minute, but the big window in the cafeteria, it's time to reseal that. It's been 20 years since that's been resealed, so we're going to reseal that to avoid any water intrusion there. The baseball fence in the back of the building there, you can just see that through years of wind and storm damage that fence is bowed out a little bit, and so we're working with a company that's going to come in and replace the poles in the fence out at the baseball field there. And then the last picture on this slide is of our irrigation system. And so Jeremy had connected with me about a month ago one evening and told me that we now had lakeside property at Marshall High School. And so upon further investigation, we found that one of our main water lines in our irrigation system had broke. And so we trenched that out. There was tree roots around it. And so we were able to repair that, and the irrigation system at the Marshall High School is now working as it should. So we're glad to see that. At our CTI location, again, a security fob reader was installed at that main entrance. And then additionally, we'll be putting a security phone. So right now, our admin assistant, when somebody visits CTI, she has to get up and open the door for them and let them in. So now she'll have a phone, much like all of our other buildings, a security phone where she can buzz people into the building. And then we also added a 90 by 150 parking lot off of the warehouse there. And the intention of that is all of the equipment and supplies that you see in the back of the middle school here, we would like to take all of that and move that out to this new parking lot along with trailers that we're not using. So maybe band trailers so they don't have to sit in the high school parking lot outside of season. So that will make some more space in the back of the middle school for staff parking and other people to park for events. All right, so on to the big project here that we've been working with this summer. So at the high school, we are doing a building automated control system. And really what that is, it's just a centralized system that controls all your mechanical, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, lighting, security. And so what has happened there is our system is original to the building and is now at the end of its life. And so we had to make some decisions on what we were going to do with that. It was our system was no longer supported by the company that we were with. And so we decided that we would go out to bid, and we received quotes from 3 different companies. And in the end, Johnson Controls was the one that won the bid. And Johnson Controls is a good fit for our district because they're in all of our other buildings already. So the high school was the only one that isn't controlled by Johnson Controls. So it just seemed like a natural fit to put them in our building as it was. And so what this is really, it's a project that's going to improve the efficiency and comfort of our system. So we've always known that our system at the Marshall High School doesn't probably work as it should, and we'll talk through that in just a little bit more. But so we just really wanted to get to that point where there was a comfort level for all of our staff. So we installed these types of sensors in each classroom, and basically what it allows the staff to do is control the temperature in their classroom plus or minus 2 degrees of what the set point is. So we in our system say what the set point is, and then the teacher can say, I want it 2 degrees higher or 2 degrees lower than that. And so that gives everybody the ability to have their room be as comfortable as they need it to be or would like it to be. And so some people say, well, I don't know what the big deal with this project is. You're just installing a new software. It's much bigger than just a new software. There's a lot of different components, both hardware and software, that need to work together to make this happen. And so if you were to guess, how much cable do you think that we've pulled through this project? Matt and Tim, you can't cheat. You can cheat, go ahead. So,
I'll guess 2 miles.
2 miles. Good job, Matt. So we pulled over 2 miles of wire through this project. A DDC controller controls the amount of air flow that's going through, not the temperature, but the airflow that's delivered to a space. And so if you were to guess how many DDC controllers we replaced at the high school, it's 154. So this is just a few of the pieces of equipment that we are installing. And so this is no small project. And so what we need to do is we're hoping that by the end of this week, we're going to have most of our hardware installed in the building. And then basically what we do from there is we start with our sequence of operations. And so we start looking at programming the software and making sure that things are going to work how we want them to work. We've really had three project partners through this whole project. So Orb is our project manager. They're our owner representative. And then, like I said, we've been working with Johnson Controls, who's actually doing the installation. And then Question Solutions Engineering, they're our commissioning agent. And so we decided that we wanted somebody to come in and double check the work at the end of the project to make sure that we are actually getting the products that we thought we were getting. And so Question Solutions and Engineering has been our partner in that. And so they're actually working with Johnson Controls and looking at the mechanical designs and then making sure that the sequence of the operation is actually matching our building type. So timeline, we are looking to have this project major completion done by August 25th or the end of August when staff return. There are going to be a few punch list items that will go later into the fall, but those are things like when we switch from cooling to heating, we need the commissioning agent to come in and make sure that the heating system is working how it should be. So, but majority should be done by the end of August. And I just want to say on a project like this, we are under a time crunch. Typically a project like this would take 5 to 6 months. When we went into this project, we told Johnson Controls, you have 3 months to get this done. And so they've really amped up their staffing and so far they're on track and they're making it work. So we are optimistic that this is going to have major completion by the end of August. And then I would just say budget. We are on track with budget. We do have a contingency or a reserve fund that we have not tapped into. We're hoping that we don't have to tap into that. But the further we get into the project, there might be some things that come up that we weren't expecting. An example, we had a facilities meeting before this meeting. An example that has come up is there's a duct sensor. So that's a temperature sensor that's supposed to read the temperature in your air ducts. Well, we have found that some of those, when the high school was built, they placed them on the outside of the ductwork and not in the ductwork. And so that does no good when you're trying to control the temperature in a classroom. You don't get an accurate reading there. So just little things like that we'll have to go through and modify throughout the project. But at this point, everything is going as planned, and we're hoping to have a nice, efficient, comfortable building come August. That's what I have for you. Any questions?
Thanks, Tricia.
All right, thank
Thank you
you.
for all your work.
Absolutely.
Next item is the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Mary. Just a minute. To approve the consent agenda. I will call for the vote.
Sync again. Oh, yes, there we go.
And that is approved. Next item is approval of the bills for June of 2025. I will make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. So there's a motion by myself and a second by Tim to approve the bills. Any further discussion or comments? If not, I will call for the vote. And the bills are paid for June. Next item is treasurer's report. Any further discussion on this? Any-
I don't have anything specific other than we reached our fiscal year end, so we're in that process of transitioning between two fiscal years right now, which will continue to happen over the next couple of months as we work through our audit for the year. One thing I did like to see is that our self-insurance fund, that deficit balance has shrunk a little bit, so I'm hoping we
Good.
continue that projection and start seeing that look a little better over the next year with our premium increases. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Good. Thanks, Sarah. Next item is the board forum or updates. Any reports from the board? Hearing none. Our discussion items, first review of policy 413-06. You want to make any comments on this? or-
Yeah, it's first reading. For this policy, just in reviewing it, talking with staff from last year, we'd like to change the policy a little bit in how we do the daily rates with the meal rates and that sort of thing, just to better align with the needs of staff when they're traveling.
And like I said, this is a first review, so we'll review it 2 more times and then vote on it. Next item is a board action approval of the district handbooks. This is something that we do every year this time of year.
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll second.
Thank you. A motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Mary to approve the district handbooks for the 25-26 school year. Any further discussion?
Just share with these, there are very minimal changes, nothing of significance other than just updates for the years in each of the handbooks. There's each of the sites, and then the district-wide and the EL plan, like handbooks for everything are included there, including like activities. So appreciate the staff's work on those.
I will call for the vote. And they are approved. First and final review of policies that had legislative changes. If you'd like me to read them all, I can, but I don't think I will. I will make a motion to approve these.
Second?
Thank you, Sarah.
So like the title of this one says, these are the legislative changes. So MSBA shared the model policies for all of these different areas. And that's why this is a one reading, because it's statutory changes. So nothing that we did without just following model policy with those.
Any further discussion? I will call for the vote. And that is approved. Next item is approval of the 10-year long-term facility maintenance resolution and plan that Tricia spoke of earlier. I will need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
A motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Mary to approve our 10-year long-term facility maintenance plan. Any further discussion?
This is an annual item on the board agenda, as you guys know. Just approving that 10-year plan. So Tricia's worked with the service co-op in preparing this, and like she shared, this is money that comes specifically for those building updates and maintenance pieces. This is how we've done those projects every year. It's how we fund another project she just covered for this year. So this will approve the funding for this next cycle.
Thank you. And I'll call for the vote. That is approved. Next item is approval of contract with Southwest Coaches for 25 through 29.
So moved.
Thanks, Sarah.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Tim to approve our contract with Southwest Coaches.
Appreciate our ongoing partnership with Southwest Coaches. They've been a great partner for us, and Tricia has met with them and negotiated a contract for the next 4 years, and we are comfortable with the terms that they've proposed.
Are they typically 4 years? I was thinking they were just 3.
4 years with the ability to extend it another 2 years if you want.
Any further discussion? I will call for the vote. And that is approved. And I will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.